Welcome back to Strange Resort, the podcast that lurks in the shadows of otherwise sunny vacation destinations. I'm your host, George Hatfield, and I'm a little bit winded right now because I have just lugged a large cardboard box up to my hotel room. And I am not sure where to begin. I've got a lot of tapes, and Helen has kindly lent me an old cassette player. So, let's start there. Just static. I will put in another. I don't know if the tapes are damaged or just old or if it's the cassette player machine, but none of them play anything more than a sort of slow motion static. So, I give up on the tapes and let's check out these notebooks. And written in the corner of this notebook is the title, Derry, an Unauthorized Town History by Mike Hanlon. And I am opening it up to find blank pages. And the few pages that aren't blank are filled with balloons. But here's the thing, these pages I can see were not always blank. There are indentations. There is faded ink. As if there were words written down in this address book that just vanished, evaporated over time. This is disappointing. I still have the photographs to examine, and then there are the many notes from Bradinger and Ives. But I'm going to take a walk. God damn it, what is up with this town? It's a little while later. I'm at the Center Street drugstore, consoling myself with a pint of Ben & Jerry's chocolate chip cookie dough. Flipping through more photographs, more images of what little remains of what I thought was going to be a massive amount of research, and an idea is beginning to form, a possible answer, really. Why was Derry so quick to take action against the Bradley gang and so seemingly passive about a child predator in their midst? The men who shot the gangsters weren't doing it to stand up against evil. They were standing up against outsiders. I am looking at a photograph labeled The Legion of White Decency. This was a white supremacist group similar to the KKK, except they apparently didn't have a tailor who knew how to make the pointy hats, so they settled on pillowcases. The Legion had members scattered here and there in various pockets of New England, but Derry was the only city in the state of Maine in which the Legion thrived. So you can imagine the shock and fear of these bigots upon the arrival of Company E. 27 soldiers from every corner of America, including a very young William Hanlon, Mike Hanlon's father, from North Carolina. What adversity did he and his fellow soldiers face here in Derry? Company E. They were a vital part of the Derry Army Air Corps base. Yet their barracks were separated, placed a half-mile away from the rest of the base. The men of Company E were disciplined more often than the white soldiers, and their punishments could be downright Kafkaesque. For example, one sergeant was infamous for making black soldiers dig a hole, fill it up, dig it again, several times over. Without Mike Hanlon's notes, I feel like my understanding of the Black Spot disaster will be incomplete, unless we can speak with an actual survivor. That was a long time ago, so it's a long shot. But today I am paying a visit to Derry's only nursing home. I show the staff members a list of the names and the old photograph, but for the most part they have no interest in confirming or denying. Something to do with HIPAA.
As I said, we can't help you.
Right,
sir.
I get that, but what I'm really trying to do is find out if any of your residents served with a man named William Hanlon. I get nothing from the staff. It looks like it's another dead end, so I start walking away until I hear a voice from down the hall.
Hello? Did you say William Hanlon?
It's a sweet, elderly woman, and she seems to be in hospice care. I don't know how you feel about coincidence versus serendipity, but it feels like something is at work here, because this woman was the nurse of William Hanlon back in the 1960s when Hanlon was dying of cancer.
I knew Will.
Her name is Rhoda, and she tells me that she had thousands of patients over the years, but she remembers William Hanlon distinctly because she overheard a story that chilled her to the bone. It was a story passed on from father to son. All the while, Rhoda was eavesdropping outside the hospital room. It wasn't about the black spot, was it? Her eyes light up in a how-did-you-know look of surprise. So keep in mind that this historical narrative is really more of an echo, distorted by time and painkillers. William Hanlon was born and raised in Burgaw, North Carolina. His father, a tobacco farmer, died in a machinery accident. And so, young William, lying about his age, enlisted in the United States Army. He was only 16 years old when he joined Company E. The racist members of the town council did not want the soldiers of Company E patronizing the taverns of Hell's Half Acre, even though the lumberjacks who drank there didn't seem to mind. Cracking under pressure, Major Fuller provided Company E with a building of their own, a ramshackle shed, the only place these soldiers were allowed to socialize while off duty. The place looked dreary and pathetic at first. One of the men said, "It's a hell of a black spot, all right," and that phrase caught on as the name of their club. Soldiers like Alan Snopes, George Brannock, and Richard Halloran gathered all the tools, paint buckets, and building supplies they could muster. By July of 1930, the Black Spot had a kitchen with 2 deep fryers, a bar to serve soda pops and mocktails, and mismatched window panes made from multicolored glass. The club soon became the talk of the barracks, making some of the officers at the NCO club more than a little jealous.
Don't go climbing around.
Especially when the Black Spot debuted its Dixieland combo. Corporal Martin Devereaux on drums, Private George Brannock on saxophone, Pop Snopes on piano, and Ace Stevenson on cornet. Soon after, fellow soldiers and curious members of the community began to frequent the Black Spot every single weekend. and white out-of-towners soon heard about this jazzy little club hidden away in Derry. As the black spot rose in popularity, so did the fury of the Legion of White Decency. These cowards in white sheets, carrying torches made from baseball bats, were led by Horst Mueller, the same man who served on the town council and the son of William Mueller, the timber baron responsible for the murder of the Unionizers in the early 1900s. With his son Horst, the tradition of violence continued. The Legion members surrounded the club. They threw the torches through the kitchen window. Inside the black spot, the band was playing so loud, and so many patrons were dancing, laughing, and singing along, that the commotion of the fire was not even noticed until it was too late. The flames became all-consuming. The people inside panicked. They stampeded for the main exit. A crowd was crushed up against the doors that were meant to be pulled open and not pushed, so at first no one could escape. William Hanlon and his friend Trev Dawson would have perished if it wasn't for Army cook Dick Halloran, who led them toward the bandstand instead of the crowd. The three men managed to escape out of a window thanks to Halloran's intuition. And during my research, Richard Halloran's name seemed very familiar to me, but I couldn't figure out why. However, later on when I met up with Trish, she made a startling connection. The head cook of Company E became the head cook of the Overlook Hotel, the place where my high school teacher went mad and died in a fire. I'm in the car with Ranger McFarlane. We're about to go to eat, but she just dropped this bombshell, this research bombshell about Dick Halloran.
Yeah, so are we having a conversation?
Yeah, we can just have a conversation.
I was like,
okay,
God.
yeah, no. So what I know, I think the Overlook Hotel may have already been on fire, and he helped to save the Torrance family, or at least save Wendy and Daniel Torrance, and I think Jack Torrance was already dead at the time. So he brought down the mother and the son in, I think, a snowmobile, and so basically saved their lives.
Yes, so I actually reached out to a friend who worked near the Overlook Hotel, and he was able to give me some more background information because he was actually working that same day.
He was probably stationed outside of Sidewinder, Colorado, I'm guessing?
I believe so, yes.
And that's about 35 miles away. So what happened?
So Mr. Halloran actually called the ranger station and was looking for information on how the family up on the hotel was doing. He was nowhere near, and he actually got a plane ticket to go out and rescue everyone. Kind of made his journey up to the hotel.
So he flew out from Florida.
Yes.
Just on a whim, just on a hunch.
Yes.
Dick Halloran was a hero at the Overlook Hotel and at the Black Spot. Unfortunately, he could not save everyone. Scores of people were still trapped inside the club as the blaze intensified. It was Trev Dawson who took action, commandeering a truck by punching out a bewildered sergeant and then ramming the vehicle through the wall of the Black Spot. Thanks to Dawson, dozens of people escaped the fire, although many of them were severely burned, and Dawson received a court-martial. Yet there were 60 people still inside, being swallowed by the flames. Rhoda told me about the most chilling moment from William's narrative.
I'll never forget the way he described that poor woman. She was burning like a candle.
By the time the Black Spot collapsed, the fire had claimed the lives of at least 60 people. 18 of them were soldiers from Company E. And the so-called Legion of Decency They ran off into the night, still hiding in their white sheets. But according to Hanlon's story, something bizarre happened before all of them could run away. I thought for certain that Rhoda was going to tell me that William had spotted clown shoes under those white sheets, but that was not what happened.
He saw a bird, a giant bird.
This giant bird, which seems to match the description of a thunderbird from Native American mythos, swooped down and caught one of the legionnaires by the shoulders, then rose up into the air, not flapping, but rising in the darkness, floating. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, Miss Rhoda. I'll let you get some rest. Ranger McFarlane and I are having a late dinner at the Jade of the Orient, debriefing over chow mein. This is Derry's finest Chinese restaurant, although besides Panda Express, it is actually the only Chinese restaurant in Derry. It is kitschy but pleasant, with very friendly service. I tell Trish about the giant bird, and she writes it off as a drug-induced ramble, which does make sense. Except the rest of the narrative, I don't know, it feels reliable. But we'll never know, since Michael Hanlon's journals are blank. I say goodnight to Trish, and then it's off to my hotel.
Good evening, Mr. Hatfield. Welcome back.
Thanks.
He asks me how my stay has been thus far, and I tell him it has been quite memorable. But I should have mentioned to him that there is a leaky faucet with a drip that just gets louder each night I've been here. But I've got other things on my mind. So, what have I learned? Almost 100 years ago, violence exploded on the streets of Derry with the attack on the Bradley gang, followed by 18 months of a killing spree of children that left almost 200 dead or missing, and yet none of the national newspapers take notice. And then the fire at the Black Spot, which for some inexplicable reason is then followed by a period of relative tranquility. The child killings stop, or should I say they pause, but they start up again in the 1950s. The Hanlon family was here during that decade, and William's son Michael, the town's beloved librarian, must have been about 10 or 12 years old at the time, and it makes me wonder, what was his childhood like in Derry? As I hold the retired librarian's address book, wishing I could decipher the smears of this faded ink, I start to notice something. What the? I don't know if my eyes are playing tricks on me or if I've been staring at the page too long, but each time the faucet drips, it looks like the words become clearer. Bill Denborough, Ben Hanscom, Beverly Marsh, Eddie Kasprack, Stanley Uris, and Richie Towser. Add Michael Hanlon to that list, and these are the names of the Losers Club on the plaque connected to the memorial statue, the one dedicated to the children, all of the children. With those moments of impossible clarity, I'm wondering if there's some way I can read more of these journals, or even listen to some of the cassettes. All right, I am conducting a crazy experiment. I have Hanlon's History of Derry notebook, and I've brought it into the bathroom close to this dripping sink. And I am hoping that whatever magic happened with the address book will work on these blank pages and give me something to read. Okay, I thought for just a second I caught a flicker of so far. Okay, for just a fraction of a second, I thought I saw some words on the page, but I don't know, it's still blank. So I am moving away from the sink drain. I am now stepping into the bathtub, to the same place where I heard the voice in the drain. And I am hoping that it is the drain that is the supernatural element that will somehow make these notebook pages reveal what I know was written there long ago. Okay. Again, I thought I saw words on the page for just a moment, but they are gone. If it was ever there, okay. But that is... Oh, great. The power's gone out. Power's been out for a while now. Still in the bathtub. Ghost girl in the drain. Hello? Are you there? I'm open to hearing more of your voice if you want to communicate. I'm a friend. All right, you don't have to talk, but maybe you could turn the lights back on? Hello? I'm ready to hear what you have to say. Hello? God, why did I make that my ringtone? Hello? Trish? Yeah, here too. Are you okay? Great. Can I call you back? I'm in the middle of something. All right, thank you. All right, no luck with the journal. Fumbling around in the dark now, and I am going to try crazy experiment number 2. I am sitting back down in the bathtub. This time, I have brought Helen's tape recorder and the cassette, which just had static and white noise on it when we tried listening to it earlier today. There we go. I am wondering if it will still be empty static on this cassette, or tape is inside, and I am pressing play. Okay, that is new. Okay, that was backwards, right? Let me make sure this tape is playing forwards. Okay, give me a second. Okay, I have reversed the recording on my laptop, and let's hear it together, folks.
So, Georgie, you must sure follow around with the town then country beneath the aula into the source, into the source. The helpers are fighting for you.